The tragic and vengeance-filled backstory of Char Aznable and Sayla Mass continues in my review of the second episode of the OVA series, Mobile Suit Gundam the Origin. Gundam nerds are gonna love the Gundam lore in this brand new Gundam anime. The second episode of Gundam the Origin is pretty freaking fantastic. In fact, it is tailor-made for old-school fans of the original Mobile Suit Gundam anime series. There is a lot of important information from this episode, some of which is a complete surprise to me, because I'm a huge Gundam fan. I don't really read any of the manga, I just watch the anime, so watching Gundam the Origin has been a very fresh experience for me, and I think one of the most surprising things is that in this episode we learn that there was a Char Aznable before there was a Char Aznable. The reason this is so surprising to me is because in the original Mobile Suit Gundam anime series, Char Aznable never really got into his past all that much, and I just always assumed that Char Aznable was just a fake name that he came up with. But we can definitely assume, after watching this episode right here, that he is going to steal the identity of the original Char Aznable, which happens to be this kid, which looks nearly identical to him. They happen to have the same age. In fact, the only real difference between the characters are their personalities and their eye colors. And I imagine that things are not going to work out all that well for the original Char Aznable. I have a feeling he's probably going to be killed, and this is when Char is going to take over his identity so that he can infiltrate the Zabi family and take them on from the inside, just like we see from the original Mobile Suit Gundam anime series. It's a really well done and calculated revenge story, but it's also filled with some amazing writing, some beautiful backdrops, and some surprisingly awesome mobile suit action. It may come as no surprise to those who watch my reviews all the time, but my favorite thing about this OVA, without a doubt, was getting to see those prototype mobile suits. They look like prototype Zaku's. These prototype mobile suits, which are known as mobile workers, are definitely reminiscent of the Zaku's. They have the single eye, their heads basically look the same, but their bodies are much larger, much more bulkier, and they aren't as maneuverable. Even with that, though, they still managed to deliver an incredibly intense action and training scene in this episode right here. I also think it's really fitting that Rambaral is actually a part of this project, and I love the fact that the mobile worker that he's in, the Mobile Worker 02, is actually colored blue. This is a fantastic reference to him actually piloting the Goof from the original Mobile Suit Gundam. And the reason that Ramba is actually working with the Zeons in the first place is because he's working directly under Dazzle Zabi, who, despite his outward appearance, is probably the most honorable member of the Zabi family. What's really cool about this scene, and something that I think a lot of old-school Gundam fans are really going to love, though, is that the other group that's actually testing out these brand new mobile suits are actually the original Black Tri-Stars from Mobile Suit Gundam. Ortega, Mash, and Gaia. They're all here, they're all awesome, and they still look ridiculous with their classic 1970s designs. And that's another reason why I really love this show, how they have a perfect combination of the old and the new. We get to see a lot of that in some of the new characters this week, as well as getting some big revelations as we get to see Casval and Artesia go around to all of these different families. We get to learn the reason why they're actually called Eduardo Mass and Sayla Mass, and that's because they're actually living with this guy by the name of Don Tiebolo Mass, who apparently is this super rich guy who lives on Earth. This guy apparently was really good friends with Casval and Artesia's father, and that's why he's decided to look after these two children. The problem is the Zabi family is doing everything in their power to assassinate them, and that includes sending civilians into their home to kill them, and even one who is dressed as a knight in armor. Yeah, the opening 20 minutes of this OVA are kind of ridiculous because Casval and Artesia are attacked by this knight in armor who we never get to see. It comes out of nowhere, but honestly, I like it. It really makes this episode very distinctive. It's also really disturbing because this is the episode where we get to see the death of Jimba Ral, the father of Rambaral, and it just comes out of nowhere. It almost seems like Don Tiebolo is also going to be killed as well because he is pushed out of a window, but he actually ends up surviving and he still decides that he's going to try and help out Casval and Artesia, and that's when they decide to go to this other colony which is known as the Texas Colony, a colony that we have actually seen in the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Can you see where this is going? There's a lot of different callbacks, not to mention we get to see even more character cameos. Remember Mirai Ramius, who is basically the pilot of the White Base? She has an appearance in this episode. Do you like the character of Amuro Ray? Well, you get to see a younger version of him actually getting Haro for the very first time in this episode. It's actually when he's going with his father to space. Little scenes like this really do tie everything together and really just sort of like connects everything perfectly. It sort of connects the dots, so to speak. But even with all the character cameos and the mobile suit action, again, the real stars of this story are Casval and Artesia. Casval, who has barely any dialogue whatsoever, still manages to have an amazingly commanding presence, and you're just waiting for that moment for him to snap. And this might have been that episode. Really, though, you end up just feeling so sad and depressed for Sayla, who constantly keeps losing everyone. Her mother dies in this episode. Jim Baral is killed. Her cat dies. And then at the very end, Casval decides he's going to leave, which I'm assuming this is all a part of his mission to infiltrate the zombie family and probably take the real Char Aznabul's identity and make it his own. I also really love the entire backstory of Ron Baral and explaining why he's actually working directly with the zombies, because he really has no reason to. Their family is the reason that his father is dead, but he does have a lot of mutual respect for Dazzle as well. Just getting to see his relationship with Haman Crowley is also really good. It was something that was shown in the first episode, but I really like that they're showing a little bit more of that. It just strengthens their relationship even more when you rewatch the original series. It really adds a brand new layer of depth to that show. And that's exactly what a prequel series should do. It shouldn't just be there to show you just events that you never saw before. It should expand on the series. It should give you a brand new eye-opening experience. And that's exactly what Mobile Suit Gundam the Origin is doing. And it's doing it with some amazing production value. I love the character designs. They're distinctly old school, but the overall animation and artwork is very clean and very nice. Especially a few brawling scenes in this episode. I've already mentioned the mobile suit battle between the mobile workers, which is freaking awesome, by the way, but there's this fantastic scene where Ron Baral is in this bar and he's taking down these drunk Federation soldiers, which, just like the other iterations of the show, is also a great way of demonstrating that both the Zeons and the Earth Federation are equally pretty bad, and it's all about war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. It's a story point that they've always been trying to drive home in Gundam, but it does it very good in this episode. There's also a scene towards the end where apparently I think there's this one Zeon guy who's trying to tail both Casval and Artesia, and this really pisses Casval off to the point where he picks up his glass of beer, pours it on his head, and then breaks his hand by slamming the glass down on top of it, and nearly killing the guy before his sister can even stop him. It's really intense and is a great preview to the darker side of Casval before he becomes the Red Comet himself. So what's the rundown on this episode of Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin? Just fantastic. If you're an old school Gundam fan, this is like mandatory viewing, especially if you're a really big fan of the original series, and I certainly am. I'd still go as far as to say it's still probably my favorite iteration, and it is a show that really took me a lot of time to appreciate, mostly because of the old animation, but when you get past that and you start to enjoy the characters, the story, and the message, you're really going to be able to get a lot out of that. And that's what's going to make you appreciate the OVA series that we got here. And I love the attention to detail just in the smallest little bits. I love the fact that there aren't any real mobile suits quite yet. Like, you still have those tanks which are used by the Federation, and then you got those prototype Zaku's, which are incredible prototypes, by the way. Like, they really go old school with these things. They're really, really bulky. They can barely move at all. They don't even have, like, real functioning hands. They have, like, these big claws, and they have all of these cables and cords which are hooked to their back, which I'm guessing is what's actually powering them. They can't actually move on their own quite yet. And having the Black Tri-Stars be the one that are testing them out with Ron Baral is just so freaking perfect. In a way, Ron Baral and the Black Tri-Stars are the reason why the Zeons have such powerful mobile suits in the first place. They were responsible for their actual creation, because even when they're inside of these things and destroying each other, that's when they learn the flaws of the mobile suits, and Ron Baral actually brings that up, and Dazzle Nozzle is going to be the one who's actually going to develop them into much better prototypes in the future. It's also worth noting that we do go forward a couple years in this one, which I think is great, because it gives the characters a chance to age a little bit. Of course, like I said, Casval just does not have that much dialogue, but every single time you see him on screen, you know exactly what he is thinking every single time. That, and of course, he's a character who's appeared in many old-school Gundam anime series before, so we know exactly what his motives are going to be. But I'm still incredibly shocked by the fact that there was a real Char Aznable. It kind of reminds me of that one plot point from Gundam Wing, where there was actually another, like, Troa Barton, and then the other character in that series actually ended up taking his identity. It's probably going to go in a situation like that, although I don't imagine that Casval is actually going to kill the real Char Aznable. I have a feeling there's going to be sort of like a Prince and the Pauper sort of scenario, where they're going to have to, like, switch identities and one of them is going to be killed. On the technical side of things, this is a fantastic looking episode. It is an OVA series, so it certainly has a much higher budget, but all of the character designs, the mobile suit designs, and just the look of the colonies, especially when you go to the Texas colony for the first time, is absolutely picturesque and beautiful, as is the rest of the series. Perfect mixture of classic and new designs. So to all the Gundam fans out there, I highly recommend checking out the second episode of Mobile Suit Gundam the Origin, especially if you're a big fan of the character of Char Aznable. This will give you a very nice peek into what his past was like and how he actually became the Red Comet himself. Also, if you're a fan of Sayla Mast, you'll really get to understand why her backstory is so tragic and why the way she is in the series. Not only that, but just getting to see all of the character cameos, Mirai and Amuro, the Black Tri-Stars, all the other characters popping up. It's just fantastic. You'll get goosebumps whenever those characters appear on screen. Just know that going into this episode, it's not as action-packed as the first, but the story and the writing is really, really good, especially if you're really well acquainted with the Gundam anime series. So it's got some riveting dialogue going for it. And it's also just got some nice slow moments. There's this scene with Haman Crowley in a bar where she's singing a song. It's beautifully done. It's small moments like that that make an hour OVA seem like a movie. And so I most definitely give this episode my seal of approval. If I could give it a score, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. I am a little biased. I just want you guys to know that. I'm an extreme Gundam fan. There might be some folks out there who think that this is a 4 out of 5 for the lack of action, but I still think that the dialogue was incredibly riveting. It got me very excited to see the next episode, and I cannot wait to see how Casval is going to become Char Aznable. I don't know if they're going to wrap it up in the next OVA or if there's going to be a couple more after this, but I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with it. Because right now, we're in the middle of a Gundam renaissance. Not only do we have a brand new series airing right now, Iron-Blooded Orphans, they also have the brand new Gundam Build Fighters OVAs, which are going to be coming out supposedly in 2016. We have more Gundam Origins OVAs coming out, and they also just made an announcement for Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt, which is going to be an anime series based on the popular manga spin-off. That's also going to be coming in 2016. So let's just kick back, relax, and enjoy all the Gundam goodness. Like I said, 5 out of 5 for me. I loved this episode, but I want to hear from you guys. Did you watch the second episode of Mobile Suit Gundam The Origins? Please tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you have a favorite scene, a favorite character who showed up? What did you think of those prototype Zakus? And what is going to be the deal with Char Aznable? How is his identity going to be stolen by Casval? And what do you want to see from the rest of the Gundam The Origin OVA series? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews, and all of my Gundam reviews. I've reviewed a couple of shows, OVAs. Make sure to check those out and share them with all of your buddies. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!